Hey guys, so we're doing an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with an Ezreal, I guess you could say a commentary guide, because I wasn't planning on making an Ezreal video, but as you guys know, in patch 3.0, he did receive a 10% AD buff on his Q, and basically, that makes him really strong at the moment. So, what he got was a 10% AD ratio buff on Q. Now, I gotta be honest, as I mentioned in my patch review video, when I saw Ezreal in the champion changes, I thought that he was getting nerfed because, to be honest, I don't think he's the strongest ADC at the moment in patch 2.6a. However, what I did feel was that he was in a pretty good spot, definitely within the top 5 ADCs, maybe even in the top 3 ADCs. So I did think he was in a really good spot. I didn't think he was too broken or anything, but I definitely didn't think he was weak. So when I saw him in the champion changes, I did think that he was probably gonna get nerfed, but he got buffed instead with a 10% AD ratio increase on Q. Now, what this obviously does not change is his early game, so his early game is still absolutely the same. Probably you'll only start feeling the difference when you get 3 items and upwards, because of course it's a AD ratio increase, so you need more AD to actually feel the increase. So maybe at 2 or 3 items you will feel the difference that he will do slightly more damage. Is it a ton more damage? I don't think so. Personally, I have played Ezreal quite a bit ever since the new patch. I wouldn't say it is an absurd amount of extra damage, but I will say that you can feel the difference. Now, personally, I predict that this will make a lot of people overrate Ezreal and prioritize Ezreal. We have already been seeing that in the patch itself, that a lot of AD carries are picking Ezreal just because of this buff. Can't really blame them, but I think people are overrating him quite a bit because, as I said, his early game is still the same. If you and your team get destroyed in the early game, which happens sometimes when you play Ezreal, this buff isn't really going to help you out too much. And his late game, of course, is better because of this buff. But Ezreal as a champion still has the same weaknesses he always had, which is things like poor wave clear and being single target. So those two will always be Ezreal's weaknesses. So I think that this will make people overrate him, and I think that he will be getting a nerf in the next 1 or 2 patches. It's my personal belief. So anyways, here we're gonna move on from talking about Ezreal himself into the actual gameplay. So here we are up against a Vayne and a Soraka laning matchup, and I have played this matchup with my duo partner before, and Vayne and Soraka is a pretty deadly combo that should not be underestimated, and Soraka I feel shouldn't be underestimated either, because the healing output that comes out of Soraka can be absolutely insane, especially with a Vayne who can, just go in and chase people down, and with Vayne getting constant healing from Soraka, it could be a major threat. So we aren't going to actually underestimate the Vayne Soraka lane. So Vayne obviously has pretty low range like Ezreal, but Vayne versus Ezreal in lane is sort of like a skill matchup where basically playing the Ezreal takes more skill and the Vayne takes less skill, because Vayne just has to tumble forward and auto attack the Ezreal, whereas Ezreal has to aim. However, because Vayne has shorter range than Ezreal can possibly consistently poke the Vayne without the Vayne being able to get close to auto attack. So pretty much it is a skill matchup. Alright, so in the matchup so far, we haven't been doing the best, but we haven't been doing too bad either. Here Nami gets caught. I try to heal her to help her to escape, but of course Vayne flashes over the wall and manages to actually get the kill. So here Gragas is coming in. I'm pretty low. I take the plant, and in comes Amumu as well. So we're in a 2v3. Gragas sort of slightly misplaces the cast. I do believe he was intending to bomb the Amumu into the tower. Kind of fails there. I survive by the skin of my teeth and flash over the wall on 1 HP, dodging the bandage toss. Amumu starts tanking tower, flashes in but doesn't manage to finish me off, and he pops his locket to actually survive as well. In the meantime, Gragas picks up a double kill onto the enemy bot lane. Twisted Fate ults, and I panic because I think Twisted Fate is coming from me. I am a very easy target, but he decides to go for the Gragas instead. Of course, Gragas does have a shutdown. He is 3, 1, and 2. Of course, 1 death is after Twisted Fate killed him, so obviously Twisted Fate there made the correct decision to go for the Gragas, which of course I guess you could say relatively happy with, since I'm not the target of the Twisted Fate. Alright, so quickly I'm going to actually briefly cover what we built. Of course, I have covered this in like the complete guides and updated complete guides that we have done on Ezreal honestly relatively recently, the latest updated complete guide. But we are going to build the mana mune first. We're going to start off with the Sapphire Crystal, getting the Tear on our first back, as well as the Sheen on our first back, if at all possible. Sheen will ramp up Ezreal's damage output by a ton, because his Q does proc on-hit effects, which procs the Sheen. So after we complete our mana mune, then complete our Triforce, and as our third item, we generally go for Serelda's Grudge, then followed by Blade of the Rune King. But the position of Serelda's Grudge and Blade of the Rune King can be swapped around. And lastly, we go for GA. When GA is down, you can go for something like a Death's Dance or a Maw Mormodius, depending on the matchup. And for the enchant, generally we go for Stasis or Quicksilver. No need for Portabelt since Ezreal has an E, which allows him to dash the Arcane Shift. So here, obviously, we can see that we are already pretty deep into the dragon fight, and our team is kind of losing. We're all at pretty low health. Amumu manages to kill Nami with his ultimate, but Katarina comes in for the cleanup and picks up a double. I get hit by the gold card from Twisted Fate, and I fall. And in the meantime, my team is sort of trying to pick up the pieces of the fight. Soraka is very low on health and mana. She won't be able to participate, so instead Darius goes in, stacks it up, and gets a good ult. And Katarina picks up the Vayne for a double. So overall, I guess you could say our team won the fight, and we are likely going to be picking up the dragon. I can't really remember if we did, but looks like we're going to be picking up the dragon right over here. Garen and Amumu comes in to run interference. Nami shows up to the party. Gragas gets down the smite, and we secure the Infernal Dragon. Looks like the enemy team is kind of winning out on the fight here. Of course, since they had managed to back and get items as well as health and mana. Twisted Fate ports into the Nami bubble, and here I'm trying to punish him for it, but Soraka shows up to the party, and Vayne as well. Obviously, they both respawn. Vayne respawned, and Soraka came back from base, so Vayne's trying to run me down. I have to pop flash over the wall, and I get hit by the Twisted Fate Q, and I barely live yet again. So a couple of close calls, and a very entertaining early game to say the least. We have had a lot of action in the early game in terms of team fights, and I do feel that this game really demonstrates Ezreal's strengths in particular. Of course, don't believe we see too badly his weaknesses of wave clear and single target in this match, but really Ezreal's strength is staying safe and just kiting people out in the back line especially. So here obviously Rift Herald is up, so we're going to show up to the Rift Herald fight and see what we can do about it. Gragas goes in with a very good cast to knock the enemy team out of the pit. Amumu with a relatively nice ult himself. I'm trying to finish off the Amumu, but Soraka, being the health battery she is, keeps him alive. Same goes for the Garen. I can finish off the Garen because Soraka is keeping him alive. We finally managed to pick off the Amumu, and Gragas secures the Rift Herald. So you guys can already see from just this one fight how strong Soraka actually is with her healing. Now I'm going to be doing a tier list really soon after set releases, of course, so that we can include him in the tier list. But honestly, I do believe Soraka is really underrated at the moment, and I will probably be ranking her higher than what most people expect in my tier list. Of course, minor spoiler for the tier list, but yeah. So here we have our mana mune, and we have our Sheen. Really not much of a power spike yet. We sort of need to get the evolved mana mune. We need the mirror mana. We need the Triforce. When you get your mirror mana and your Triforce is when you feel a very, very strong spike. So here me and Katarina trying to go in onto the Twisted Fate. I try to ult him to finish him off, but I don't really do enough damage yet at the moment, so he does manage to escape with his life. So our bot lane and Katarina is going to try to pick up the bot lane tier 1, which we do. In the meantime, Gragas also picks up the top lane tier 1, I believe. And now we're pinging from mid lane tier 1. So of course mid lane tower is generally the most important because it really opens up the map. Pretty much the entire enemy team comes over to defend it. I see 4 enemies in the mid lane, the enemy bot lane, jungle, and the Garen as well. Right, so here comes the Nami wave, knock up onto literally everybody, I believe. Gragas, very nice bomb to pick out the Twisted Fate. I pick up the kill on the Twisted Fate. Amumu trying to tank for his team. Garen out comes in but doesn't actually finish anybody off. Vayne dies as well to my auto attack, and pretty much my team here has won the fight. We have a 3-0, and we can now pick up our mid lane tier 1. So here, as you can see, Ezreal has capabilities to both kite back in a fight. You can also of course jump in if you are confident enough to do so, slash the situation is correct. Obviously, you don't want to be jumping in when the enemy team hasn't even used any spells. In comes Amumu with the ult. Here you see I can jump back to dodge the Amumu ultimate, which none of my other teammates can do without popping something like their flash. Or Gragas might be able to escape with his body slam, but depends on the speed of that body slam. So here we're sticking around. I wanted to back, but we're sticking around. So Darius gets a kill onto Vayne and gets another catch onto, I believe it was the Garen, and I pick up the kill onto the Garen. Very nice Soraka E, I believe, called the Equinox onto our entire team for the silence and the root. And Katarina here pinging for the dragon. I have over 3k gold, so I really need to back. I need to pick up my Triforce, and as well as getting some boot upgrade and a longsword. So here we really hit our power spec. We have the Mirror Mana and the Triforce, so we are going to be really strong at the moment. In the meantime, our team picks up the Cloud Dragon, so we have gotten all the objectives so far. And here, since I've hit my power spike, Gragas is AP, so I'm going to be picking up the red buff, because red buff benefits me way more than Gragas, especially now that I've hit my power spike. Right, so red buff in tow. We're going to head over to the mid lane to clear it out. And we're not really too sure where the enemy team is, but we do know that Nami and Gragas are around in our vicinity in case anything happens, warding over the wall to check if their blue buff is up. It isn't, and I'm just taking the plan mainly for the goal. So here we're going to set up a trap for one or both of the enemy bot lane. Here Nami with a very nice ult to cut off the Vayne's escape. Vayne has nowhere to go and runs into the Nami ult and gets eviscerated by the three of us. So Soraka kind of left the Vayne high and dry. Although Soraka probably had way better map awareness than the Vayne to realize that, you know, they're a little bit far up in the lane, and she backs off and saves herself. Alright, so we pick up bot lane tier 2. And at this point in time, our team is doing really well. Obviously, we've gotten every objective so far. So far, only tower to fall is, of course, the bot lane tier 1 on our side, and everything else is golden. My team is up by 10k gold, so we are really far ahead at this point in time. Whole team in general is doing pretty well. Katarina's fed, I'm fed, Gragas is fed, and so is the Darius. Now, of course, Nami's KDA doesn't look the best, but she is, of course, supporting us very well. So we are here. Here, I accidentally actually auto attack the skull and steal the skull. I meant to auto attack the skull, but I didn't mean to steal the skull. So if you guys saw, I stood there for about 2 seconds. I was typing in chat and apologizing to the Katarina, because obviously nobody likes to have, you know, something stolen from them, especially not only by the enemies, but especially by your own teammates as well. So just imagine, for example, I was doing the red buff and I was picking up the entire red buff. Gragas comes over and hits a smite. I would be pissed as well. So obviously, I didn't intend to steal the skull. I was just trying to help out, but turns out timing was all off, so I do actually end up picking up the skull. So here I'm just ulting down, just both to check for vision as well as to, of course, do some damage to the Amumu and company. So here the enemy bot lane here trying to defend the top lane. Here we are a little bit overextended, honestly. We all get hit by the Amumu. Oh, here Garen is on the chase for the Katarina. I decide to, instead of helping the Katarina, come and join my team in the main body of the fight. So really insane healing by the Soraka. The Wish keeps our entire team alive, and our team clearly is losing the fight. Garen gives up on the chase for Katarina and turns around back and chases me instead. So I managed to blast Cone over the wall to escape from the Garen. And here, me and Nami in a relatively good position. Darius is kind of caught out. Nami tries to help the Darius, but Nami ends up sacrificing herself for him instead. I get gold carded and Q'd autoed by the Twisted Fate. Katarina shows up just in time to zone him away. And the enemy team looks like they're kind of doing Baron or something. So I get my ult up on, I believe, the entire enemy team to just do some damage. Katarina dies because she can't really do too much on her own, even though she's relatively fed. Darius wisely stays under the tower, and this is why, if you're a team that is ahead, you can find yourself in a very advantageous position wherein your towers are still standing, like our top lane tier 1, and when the enemies get a turn and actually win team fights, you can retreat to your tier 1 towers. So really good in that aspect. Here the enemy team decides to actually go for Baron, and they do it halfway. Here I E-flash, and there is hooks for me to auto the Amumu for the kill. So obviously bad shot calling by the enemy team. Even though they were all very low, they decide to go for the Baron. So that was a fatal mistake. And now with the Amumu dead, this allows us to pick up Baron for ourselves. Right, so here I'm kind of trolling, going to the wrong side of the map, but here I'm going to head back over and start contributing to our Baron take efforts. So here obviously no Amumu, no contest, so we're going to pick up a free Baron. I'm going to use the Baron recalls to quickly back, and our team can hit down towards the dragon. Now of course I can back because I can get the Serelda's Grudge. Serelda's Grudge is very useful in this match because I can pretty much kite anybody on the enemy team. Of course, Serelda's Grudge versus the Vayne's passive might be a little bit of an issue, but aside from that, and of course the Amumu engaged, pretty much everybody else is very kiteable, so a perfect game to go for a little bit of an earlier Serelda's Grudge. Or rather, I should say, instead of a Blade of the Rune King, getting a Serelda's Grudge is going to be very helpful. Of course, Blade of the Rune King's passive could work very well, will work very well against Amumu and Garen as well. But I prefer the kiting potential of the Serelda's Grudge, and of course the armor shred is going to help out a ton as well. So Amumu stays alive a little longer with his locket, but overall just dies. Gragas flash body slam over the wall, and Katarina cleans up the kill onto the Garen. Here I'm focusing more on pushing the wave because I can't really reach the fight. I finally reached the fight, and as you guys can see, I instantly burst the Vayne. There is the damage buff to Q in full effect here. Boom! Really quick reaction by Twisted Fate to flash there, and now I would have gotten the kill onto the Twisted Fate. In the end, we still get the kill onto the Twisted Fate anyways, and we finish off the game. So here you can really see the strength of Ezreal and how good Ezreal can look in a game that benefits him, especially because of team comps and of course because mainly due to the buff. So anyways guys, I'll leave you guys with the stats. So thank you guys for watching the video and goodbye.